We're talking about movies! Alright, so with the release of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, that marks 30 MCU movies. And I thought, what better time than now to rank them, 1 through 30, see where they all stand. Now, obviously, my list is going to be based off of what would I rather watch. Would I rather sit down and watch this or this? There are going to be some movies that are better, quote-unquote, than other movies, but I would just rather watch a different movie than that. Some of them, I'm going to have to say, like, that's a better movie, rank it ahead. So I don't want this to be a super long video. We'll do small breakdowns on each one just so this video doesn't get too out of hand. So we got to start with one. If you ain't first, you're last. One of them's got to be at the end. And I got to go Eternals. Bottom line with this one, I cannot say I will ever watch it again. I don't know when I will ever sit down and say I want to watch the Eternals movie. I don't even think it's like that bad of a movie. It just has nothing to do with the MCU. I don't find the characters to be fun. I don't find a lot of the movie to be fun. There's too many people with powers, and so, like, some of their powers are useless. They're just all running around. It's too long. Just not that fun of a movie. Last. 29, not that great of a ranking, also pretty near the bottom of the barrel, Black Widow. This movie came out far too late. You could tell they were trying to give Black Widow her movie when they didn't give her one near the beginning. This film is basically schlock. You can't take a regular person, street level hero, and have them running around a floating fortress in the sky that is falling out, that blows up, falling out of the sky. Cars are exploding, flipping over, and they're just getting out, running out like nothing happened. Pretty silly movie. Bad guy, it's not that great. His power is that he has an odor that you cannot punch him, so he stinks, I guess. Also, what they did to Taskmaster was a crime, and that should make the movie this low to begin with. 28, Captain Marvel. I didn't find this movie also to be that fun. It is not terrible. I've seen it a few times. It's just not super creative. Like, you could tell some of the, it's a very generic beat by beat action movie. I think she is way too OP. I get that that's the character, but I mean, you can't beat her. There's nothing you can do to her. I don't really have a ton to say about this movie because it's just a very meh movie. 27, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I also don't think this is that bad of a movie, but it's also a very meh movie. I like Ant-Man, I like the character of Ant-Man, but the whole story, it's just very middle of the road. Like, the whole story, the bad guy is kind of like woven in, like, the bad guy isn't really the bad guy. So they're just kind of running around doing stuff. I do find it to be, it's a pretty funny movie. It's just, compared to all the other good stuff in the MCU, this one just doesn't stack up that well against all the other ones. 26, Thor Love and Thunder, one of the newer ones that's come out. I don't hate this movie, but this is where I started to realize that the MCU is getting a little too goofy. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I just think that this movie sticks way too much to the goofy side of it. Thor Ragnarok, its predecessor, which is going to be way higher up on this list, did a very good job of balancing the seriousness with the jokes. I think that they let the director go way off the helm with this one. It was just really goofy. I thought that some of the stuff in it was fine. With Zeus was pretty funny. The stuff with Jane I found to be better than I thought it would be. But the goofiness just keeps it too far down the list for me. 25, I got Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I gave this film a very good review. I thought this film was a good movie, but when you just look at all the other films in the MCU, I would rather see films with the characters I like more. Obviously not having Black Panther in it just makes it a little less interesting to me. But this is not a bad movie, pretty good movie. It's just, compared to the other characters and the other stories that are told, I would probably rather watch them than watch this. 24, The Incredible Hulk. I think this movie gets hated on a lot, and I don't think it's that bad. It's pretty good. It's the second MCU movie that came out. Obviously, it has Edward Norton in it instead of Mark Ruffalo. They did the Hulk switch up. But I think it's a pretty good movie. I have it lower just because a lot of the other stuff is just, I think, better movies. But I liked Tim Roth as the Abomination, and this is also a more serious movie, but it's pretty good. This whole range right here can be movies that get hate on too much that I don't think should get hated on. This next one, 23, Thor the Dark World, is usually at the very bottom of people's list. I think it's a pretty good movie. This was actually the movie that got me into the MCU. I remember going to see it. It was not the first MCU movie I saw, but it was the one that really got me, like, on board of, like, I have to see every single one of these the weekend they come out to follow the story. I thought what they did with Loki in this movie was great. And obviously, it's not the strongest one. It is a little silly at points, and like there is a reason some people say it is the worst one. But I don't think it's the worst one. I don't think it's that bad. 22, also usually pretty far down people's list. Iron Man 2, obviously it's not near as good as Iron Man 1. There is some goofy stuff in it, but I mean, the suitcase scene alone on the track where he puts the suit on can bump this one all the way up here. Anything with Iron Man is going to be high on my list also. He's like the main character of the MCU. Also gets hated on more than it should. Pretty good movie. Not great. 21, the original Doctor Strange. This one could have gone really bad, really fast, as it's like kind of the introduction of magic into the MCU. But the way they set it up, his backstory, Stephen Strange being a doctor, losing his hands, finding magic. The bad guy isn't great. It's a little bit of a weaker bad guy. But I thought the characters were strong. Wong, obviously a big introduction to the MCU, great character. So 21 for Doctor Strange. 20, another newer one, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I thought this was a good movie, good introduction of a new character. A lot of people thought this was like a really, really good movie. And I think it's a good movie. I stop it from being a great movie just because the ending gets a little like big CGI monsters just flying around and like these bat things. Like if they would have stuck to the kung fu aspect of this movie, this would have been probably a top 10 movie. I really liked the dad in it, and the rings were really cool, how they like fly out and you can like hit them at people and stuff. I think he is going to be a big character going forward, and I think this is a pretty good movie. Number 19, the original Thor. I think this is the MCU movie I've seen the most out of anyone because it would always come on TV and I would always just watch it. Looking at it now, it's not like as big and bombastic and fun as a lot of the movies are that come out now. It doesn't have as much stuff in it, but I think it's a really good character story of Thor being sent down to Earth, having to learn to be selfless, and obviously it kicks off with Thor and Loki and all that. So the original Thor is pretty underrated. It's pretty good, but I can't get it any higher just because some of the stuff they do later is just better. Number 18, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I thought this was better than the original. I'm a big Sam Raimi guy, directed the amazing Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy. They brought him in to do this one. I really liked what he did with some of the, you could tell this is a Sam Raimi movie, some of the horror aspects of it. I like that they made Scarlet Witch the bad guy, because it's just different than a lot of these generic one-off villains they have, to have someone that's been a hero up till now turn bad. I thought that was interesting, and I thought some of the cameos they had in it were pretty cool. Number 17, I'm going to go Iron Man 3. It's not as strong as Iron Man 1, obviously, because I have it ranked lower than Iron Man 1. But I thought some of the stuff they did with Tony in this movie was really cool. The ending with all the suits was pretty neat. It's kind of a Christmas movie. You gotta love a Christmas movie. I think that just some of the choices they made were a little weaker. But I mean, Iron Man, you can't go wrong with an Iron Man movie. 16, I'm going to go with the original Ant-Man, heist movie. This movie was just a little different than the other ones, introducing kind of a more goofy character that might not translate to the movie screen as well. But I thought it was really cool how they did the shrinking effects and how they made it a heist movie. He doesn't have to save the world, he has to rob basically a company. I thought that was smart to do, and I thought some of the character introductions in it were pretty good. All right, we're in the top 15. This is where some of the movies start to get like really, really good. I don't think we've hit the elite point yet. That's probably coming in the top 10. But number 15, Black Panther. Obviously, this was a big movie when it came out, made a ton of money. I thought Chadwick Boseman, obviously, as Black Panther was great, and Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger was a great villain. Near the end, they got a little CGI rhinoceros-y, but the first 2/3 of the movie, where it was a lot of character development back and forth between the two ideologies of Black Panther and Killmonger, was where the strongest part of the movie was. Captain America, First Avenger, number 14. This is also one of those ones that came on FX all the time that I watched growing up as a kid quite a few times. Great introduction of Chris Evans, Captain America. I thought that how they set up him getting frozen in the ice was good. They started to sprinkle in the Tesseract and the Infinity Stones in this one. Good American kid, that Captain America. So to me, a lot of the MCU is based on the team-up movies, so a lot of the team-up movies are going to be very high on my list. This is the lowest of the team-up movies, number 13, Age of Ultron. Now, I think this is still a very good movie, but the other Avengers movies are just so much better than this one. I thought some of the stuff with Ultron, he was a good villain, but I don't know if they really handled like everything with him correctly. You got a lot of side stuff going on with Hulk and Black Widow dating, and you got Thor going off and taking a hot tub bath. So I think it got a little lost setting up other movies, but when you look at it at the end, it's an Avengers movie fighting Ultron. It's got to be high up on the list. Number 12, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, the first one of this is in the elite category of movies, so the second one had a high task trying to measure up to it, but it's a very good movie. We watched it again the other night, having Ego come in, Kurt Russell as Star-Lord's father, really just set up a whole new layer to the movie. It's a very funny movie. I think James Gunn does a great job directing these movies, and this is just kind of my vibe of the MCU movies, is where you get like the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm a big Spider-Man guy, stuff like that, where it's like humorous but still serious, and I just thought this one was pretty good. All right, as I said, I'm a big Spider-Man guy. That's going to affect my rankings. Number 11, Spider-Man Far From Home. I thought this movie was fantastic. I think I saw it 3 times in theaters. We got Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, who on paper could come off really goofy, a guy with a fishbowl on his head, but I thought the way they did it with the technology, where he had all these drones basically making people believe a lie. You got Peter learning to live without Tony being around. I thought this one was really, really good. We're starting to get into the great movies. I don't know if I'd put this in the elite category, but I found it to be fantastic. All right, we've entered elite territory. I feel like the MCU has made 10 elite movies that could stack up against really not even any comic book movie, but any movie in general. So number 10, I got Iron Man, the original Iron Man. This one kicked off everything back in 2008. You got Robert Downey Jr. breaking into a role that would define his career. You ask people who Robert Downey Jr. is, I don't know if like younger people today could name anything other than Iron Man. He is the only person I think that could play this character. The way they set it up with him building the arc reactor in the suit in the cave, getting captured by the terrorists. You don't see movies like this anymore either in the MCU, where like this one, he flies around actually like killing people. Like I feel like they take it a step back. I like how he has the actual physical suit. I feel like as they kept going, the suit became digital. He just like taps it and it folds around him. But like near the beginning, where you actually had to put the suit on and like the machine would put it on him, was way cooler in my opinion. I wish they would have gone back to that. But this was just a fantastic movie, kickstarted everything. I remember seeing it when I was 10 years old. Number 9, we got Captain America Civil War. And the fact that all 3 of the Captain America movies are in my top 14, I think says a lot. 2 of them in the top 10. This film is like, it could be even an Avengers movie 2.5. Like you got almost every single character in here minus Thor and Hulk. And the way that they not only handle all these characters, they also introduced Spider-Man and Black Panther in this movie. How they set up the beef between Tony and Steve was great. And because you could legitimately say, I see Steve's point and I see Tony's point. The overall villain, Zemo, I thought he was good. He wasn't fantastic, but obviously I feel like this movie is not about the villain. It's about the 2 sides facing off. All right, number 8. Big Spider-Man guy, as I said. Spider-Man Homecoming. Fantastic movie. This gave off like Ferris Bueller vibes. Michael Keaton as the Vulture was a great villain. Another villain. A lot of these Spider-Man villains, you know, that you could look at them on paper and say, that would be stupid to put on a movie. Like you look at The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they had the Rhino as a Russian in a big robotic suit. Stupid. They did this so well with the Vulture, giving him the wings and having him be just like a street criminal who felt wronged. Peter learning responsibility. Tony being in this movie too. This is just a fantastic movie. Number 7, I'm gonna go Thor Ragnarok. Now, as I said in the Thor Love and Thunder review, this one did a good job because Thor up until this point in the first 2 movies was a purely serious character. When you get into this one, they figured out Chris Hemsworth could be really funny. So they injected a lot of humor into this movie, but they balanced it with the seriousness that made it so much better. Having Hulk in this movie was awesome. Loki, obviously, being in this movie was great. That's another thing I thought hurt Love and Thunder was Loki wasn't in it. Taika Waititi, I thought did a great job with this movie. He reinvented the Thor character. It was very funny, very action-heavy, had its moments of seriousness, and this one was really one of the better ones that the MCU has spit out. Number 6, the whole point of starting these movies was to bring the team together in the original Avengers movie. At the time, it was like unheard of to have all these separate movies and then bring them all together in one movie. And it was like, it wouldn't even work. And it's funny because back then you're like, how did you get these 6 characters to work together? And then you get to Infinity War and Endgame and there's like 30 characters in them. It's like, what are you gonna do? But the shot in New York City where they circle pan around the Avengers standing in a circle was like peak cinema of 2012. I don't know how you could top it. The Avengers score was so good. And just the fact that they got all these characters together for the first time in this movie is something that is very hard to be topped. Okay, number 5. This might actually be the best movie the MCU has made. This is the most well put together script, some of the best action, some of the best story that makes sense in the MCU, and that's number 5, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I remember when I saw this movie, it like opened my eyes to like, this is like an actually really good written superhero movie. This isn't like junk. This isn't like, oh, well, it's fun, but it's not that good of a movie. This was a great movie. This movie, I think, could have been nominated for an Oscar. Obviously, having Bucky back as the Winter Soldier. You got Steve Rogers, Natasha, the introduction of Falcon. The Russo brothers did a great job directing this movie, and that led the way for them to direct Civil War and then get the 2 Avengers movies near the end, which I have not listed yet. Number 4, just watched this one the other day also, the original Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember when this one came out, people were like, what is this? You just came off the high of the Avengers movies. Who are these characters? What does it mean? This movie was awesome. I remember when we went and saw it, we were just like so blown away by it because we weren't expecting that much. You never heard of these characters. James Gunn did a great job directing this. It's very funny. It's very action-packed. You like the characters immediately. Star-Lord is a great character. And I think it just does a great job of bringing together this team in a very serious but also comedic environment. Number 3, thank you, Marvel. Thank you, Sony. Thank you, John Watts. Thank you, Kevin Feige. This is a movie I never, ever, ever would have thought I would see in my entire life. Spider-Man No Way Home brought my childhood hero, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, who came in when I was in middle school, put them in a movie with Tom Holland, something you never, ever, ever would have thought would have been possible. Not only that, then you go and get Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin back. You get Alfred Molina, Doc Ock, who I think is one of the greatest cinematic villains of all time. You go and get Jamie Foxx, Electro. You go and get the Lizard. You get the Sandman. I think that some of the stuff that they put in this movie is just stuff that like you would make up in your head and be like, this would never happen though. The way they tied it in with Doctor Strange was great. Tom Holland is a fantastic Spider-Man. Obviously seeing Tobey Maguire back, I had a joke for a really long time that a movie that did not include Tobey Maguire was 0 out of 10. So this one hit my 10 out of 10, Tobey Maguire included criteria. It may not be the best movie, but it is the most fun movie. Like you cannot watch it and be like, not have a good time with it. So that's why it ranks so high on my list. All right, so I'm going to talk about number 1 and number 2 together because I feel like that's the whole point of the MCU. It built towards Infinity War and Endgame. So I have them ranked at 1 and 2 because I feel like it's a story together. Like, you can't watch Endgame without seeing Infinity War, and you can't watch Infinity War and be like, well, what happens next? And just not watch it. The way that they set it all up over the course of 11 years of the sprinkling in the Infinity Stones throughout the movies, Thanos popping up in 1 or 2 of them, to bring him in and have him be a good villain, not even a good villain, a great villain. If he doesn't work, the movies don't work. The Infinity War is really a Thanos movie. So to have them be able to tie this in, not only that, like I said with the original Avengers movie, they're like, how are you going to get 6 characters in one movie? You know how many people I get in these movies? The portal scene in Endgame is the highest point of the MCU. Being in that theater opening night is not something that I would have traded for anything. When Cap gets the hammer, everybody flipped out. When the portals opened, everybody flipped out. And it's like, that is 11 years of storytelling, all culminating in that one moment. Infinity War, to have it end with the snap and half of the universe is erased. That's like something that they don't do in these superhero movies because the good guys always have to win. Well, they lost. So then you go to Endgame, it's like, how are they going to fix it? You get to the last hour of Endgame was probably the best hour of movies that I've seen in like 5 or 6 years. The care that they put into the movie, the thoughtfulness they put into it to tie it all together, perfect. So that's my ranking of the 30 MCU movies. What did I get wrong? Am I stupid? Why is Eternals so low? Because it's bad and boring. But what do you think? If you had to rank your top 5, leave them in the comments below. Let me know. I'll be back with more reviews. You can check out some of my previous reviews right here on the side. Thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.